Firstpost reports from the world's second largest continent. Hello, I'm Alison Lagrange. A very warm welcome from Durban, South Africa. We get you the news and the newsmakers from Africa. From elections to climate change to innovations and opportunities. As the world's attention shifts, we report from Africa, the heart of the global South. Join me every weekday live on Firstpost. Hello and welcome to Firstpost Africa, where we get you the top stories from the continent and from across the world. I'm Alison Lagrange, coming to you live from Durban, South Africa. First, let's take a look at the headlines. Israeli officials say Hamas is expected to release 33 hostages during the first phase of an emerging ceasefire agreement being finalized in Doha, invoking hopes for a possible truce in over a year-long war. Ukraine strikes Russian regions with a major drone and missile attack, sparking fire and damaging factories in at least 3 cities. Shelling surrounding Sudan's capital Khartoum kills at least 120 people, as per rescuers. Neither the Sudanese army nor the paramilitary forces have claimed responsibility. Suspected terrorists from Boko Haram and ISIS kill at least 40 farmers in Nigeria's northeastern Borno state, which remains a hotbed for Islamic insurgency in the West African nation. And Los Angeles wildfires continue to burn as the Californian city braces for dangerous winds that could further worsen the situation. The fires have killed at least 24 and destroyed more than 12,000 structures in less than a week. Hello and welcome. We begin with South Africa, where an abandoned gold mine has turned into a site of shock and horror. Several bodies have been recovered from the mine in the country's northwest province, where hundreds may be trapped and at least 100 may have already died. Those trapped are illegal miners who are facing a crackdown by the South African government. For months now, they have been stuck at the Stilfontein mine, about 140 kilometers southwest of Johannesburg. They remain trapped as authorities continue to block their food and other essential supplies since October last year. In order to force them out and to make arrests, it's a part of a government plan called Operation Vala Umgodi, which means closing the holes to arrest the illegal miners. Now, one South African minister has controversially put it as a way to force gang leaders to allow miners to resurface by smoking them out. As per reports, some 4,000 miners were initially stuck underground. Hundreds are thought to be still in the mine, while more than 1,000 have surfaced in the past few months. Officials have claimed the men are hiding underground to avoid arrest, but the operation to curb illegal mining has divided South Africa. Many critics have expressed the human rights concerns of the tough approach. Last week, the High Court in Pretoria intervened. It ordered the authorities to rescue the trapped miners, also mandated the uninterrupted delivery of food, water, and medical aid, and to prevent further loss of life. After this, the authorities began the operation to retrieve the illegal miners. But during the process, they unearthed a lot of unexpected and rather disturbing things. Several videos have emerged showing scores of illegal miners in dire conditions. One of the videos shows corpses wrapped in makeshift body bags. Another video from the site shows the emaciated figures of some miners who are still alive. The trapped miners can be heard calling for help. Now, these videos have been made public by a South African advocacy group who have been at the forefront lobbying for the rescue of the miners. The group says between 400 to 800 miners are still trapped and at least 100 have died underground. The government has not confirmed the number. As of now, at least 18 bodies have been recovered and around 26 illegal miners have come out alive.
The first load with 7 miners who are alive has surfaced. Their state is very dire, and I think that you already know. The reality is they are completely emaciated, completely dehydrated, in a very dire state physically, and it is very clear to us that they would require urgent medical attention just in terms of their physical condition.
Earlier, one of the miners who made it out alive claimed those trapped underground were eating cockroaches and toothpaste mixed with salt. One report also claimed they have turned to cannibalism and are eating the flesh of those who died. Now, these illegal miners are among thousands who operate in abandoned mine shafts in mineral-rich South Africa. These illegal miners are locally called zamazamas. That loosely translates to take a chance. Now, they work in closed or non-operational mines to extract minerals like gold, iron ore, coal and manganese. Zamazamas reportedly operate in some 6,000 disused mines. They tend to remain in the mines for long periods, over months sometimes, looking to hit gold and make money. They rely on help from contractors outside who pull them up for a fee. Now, these contractors also supply them with essential supplies. However, most zamazamas are undocumented migrants from neighboring nations like Zimbabwe, Lesotho and Mozambique. Many are believed to be exploited by criminal gangs. The ongoing standoff between the illegal miners and South African government has revealed the challenges facing the country's mining industry. South Africa was once the world's top gold producer, but aging infrastructure and policy-making failures have forced many commercial operators to shut. These mines have now become sites of turf wars between violent gangs competing to smuggle the precious metal. Around 25 tons of gold from South Africa is believed to be smuggled to countries like the United Arab Emirates and Switzerland annually. But as South Africa decides to take a hardline approach on illegal mining, its ways have met with severe backlash from human rights groups. Going forward, what would Pretoria's approach be to safeguarding its mining industry? Now, for more on this, we have with us Mamatlewe Sibi, who is the president of General Industries Workers Union South Africa and is joining us live from Potchefstroom in South Africa. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much, Alison.
Thank you. Now, what are the immediate humanitarian and ethical implications of the government's decision to block access to food and other essentials for the trapped illegal miners? Could this strategy exacerbate the loss of life?
Alison, we need to call this what it is. This is a massacre. What you have is a situation wherein government willingly, knowingly trapped miners in a condition where they knew they had no way out without any form of assistance, which in the past they relied on a pulley system, which basically is a rope that is pulled by a group of about 30 to 40 men on the surface, which, rope used to take them in and out. And the police chased away those men. And when they did that, they obviously deprived men also of the supply of food, water, and medication. It is that same system that used to supply with them that. And without that, and particularly for months, it led to a dire situation where many miners have now died of starvation. And that has been exacerbated by a series of other decisions that have led to a much more catastrophic situation where we are probably sitting with about 109 bodies, and about 26 of them were retrieved today, 9 yesterday, and of course, approximately over 100 miners have been retrieved since the start. Approximately 100 have been retrieved alive since the start of the operation yesterday, and in a complete state of emaciation, dehydration, and physically weakened by months-long lack of food, water, and medical supplies.
Mm. And Mametlwe, what are the long-term consequences of such incidents on the mining sector, particularly illegal mining? And what measures can governments adopt to prevent such tragedies while addressing the root causes of illegal mining activities?
Well, there were many choices that the state had in this operation. One is that what we had is a situation wherein the police arrived at a hole, and let's be clear about it. We're talking about here Shaft 11, and this is very important to emphasize because many miners have come out of different shafts, and every time miners are coming out of different shafts, police are saying, you see, they can come out if they want to. The issue here is Shaft 11. Shaft 11, Alison, is a 2 to 3 kilometer hole, right? Miners themselves are located at 1.6 kilometers underground. It is a hole without a staircase, that is a lift, without a lift and a staircase on the basis of which they can be able to come out. This shaft is not connected to other shafts. It is only connected through a treacherous underground tunnel, which are flooded with shaft 10. And it takes approximately about 7 days of crawling underground in a dark flooded tunnels to be able to go to shaft 10. And that is where many miners have actually lost their lives, and their bodies are not likely to ever be recovered. They are not even counted in the numbers that we are actually confirmed that are confirmed at the moment, which is about 180. So the police had an option, and the option was they could have, on arrival at the scene, say to the miners, we can now allow you to take people up, no longer down, right? They instead just chased away the team that was helping to pull the miners up and down, waited on the hole, and expected the miners to come out. Obviously, they waited for months. In the meantime, the miners underground just saw months passing, 3 months, without food, water, and medication. So they had an option. So this could be done a better way, like they are doing now, where you could actually bring the miners to the surface. And this thing that miners are afraid of arrest. Which arrest? Over 2,000 miners have come out. You can come here in Stilfontein, where I am. There is barely any miner who is in jail because these miners are actually scavenging on the minerals abandoned by the big companies. Nobody wants them. They can't press charges of trespassing because this mine, alongside 6,000 other mines in this country, are abandoned, derelict, and ownerless. So we've got to make a humane way of closing this mine. Other than that, we also have to address the issue of mines that are abandoned, meaning the holes are not sealed, but also the land is not rehabilitated for alternative productive uses like amusement, housing, agriculture. But as well, we need mining industry that can address issues of development in mining affected communities so that jobs and economies are developed into a resilient economy that can allow mining communities to transition to sustainable post-mining communities in the event and the inevitable event of mine closures.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for being with us on Firstpost Africa and for your valued insights and analysis on all the latest coming out of that Stilfontein mine crisis.
Thank you, Alison. Pleasure to be here.
And turning our focus now to the Horn of Africa region, Somalia's breakaway region, Somaliland, has appointed a new ambassador to Taiwan. In a social media post, Somaliland said that the president had appointed Mahmoud Adangalal as the representative of Somalia's breakaway region to Taiwan. This comes as Hargeisa and Taipei are determined to break their isolation and deepen their ties. Somaliland has been a self-governing region of Somalia for more than 3 decades, but its independence has not been recognized by Mogadishu or any other foreign government. Similarly, Taiwan has also faced difficulty in getting full recognition as China has claimed sovereignty over it. Now, both of these self-governing territories have enjoyed warm relations since 2020, after the two sides established representative offices in each other's capitals. Both have partnerships in trade, education, health, and several other development initiatives. Now, in a special gesture, Taiwan's Deputy Foreign Minister also visited Hargeisa in December to attend the inauguration ceremony of Somaliland's President, Abdirahman Mohamed Abdullah. But as Somaliland and Taiwan have deepened their ties, this has not gone down well with Somalia and China. China has opposed the ongoing contacts between Taiwan and Somaliland. It has expressed strong dissatisfaction with Somaliland's meddling in what it considers an internal matter, viewing this as a provocative act against its sovereignty. On the other hand, Somalia has strained relations with countries that have publicly sought to engage with Somaliland. Mogadishu has concurrently strengthened its relationship with Beijing to increase its influence in the Horn of Africa region. Officials in both of the countries have reassured each other of their support for their territorial integrity and have also signed numerous agreements to counter Somaliland and Taiwan relations. Now, to counter the warming relations between Hargeisa and Taipei, China has also reportedly supported Somalia in international forums, including signing the United Nations resolution that lifted Somalia's arms embargo. It has also provided Mogadishu with military equipment to aid in combating terrorism and rebuilding its army. China has also donated tons of food aid to enhance its visibility and support for Somalia. Yet, despite the strong statements from China and Somalia, Somaliland and Taiwan have continued to bolster their diplomatic ties. Taiwan has announced the construction of a medical center in Hargeisa costing $22 million, and has also offered scholarships to military officers to modernize Somaliland's military capabilities. But experts believe that tensions are further going to flare in the Horn of Africa after US President-elect Donald Trump comes to power next week. Recent reports have indicated that Trump might recognize Somaliland. Somalia's breakaway region has already offered a base as leverage for recognition, and recognizing Somaliland could enable US intelligence to set up long-term operations to monitor the movement of weapons in a volatile region while also keeping an eye on Chinese activity. In December, the US ambassador to Somalia visited Somaliland twice to strengthen relations with the new president. Washington has also previously acknowledged the growing relations between Taiwan and Somaliland. So, as Somaliland and Taiwan try to push their common agenda of gaining recognition from the international community, and China counters it with strengthening ties with Somalia, is it the beginning of a new conflict in the Horn of Africa region? Shifting focus now, a prominent Tanzanian activist who was kidnapped and released in Kenya over the weekend has now blamed the Tanzanian government's role behind her abduction. A well-known Tanzanian journalist and activist, Maria Sarungi Chehai, was kidnapped by 3 armed men on the streets of Kenya's capital, Nairobi, on Sunday. She says she was dragged out of her taxi into their vehicle. They choked and handcuffed her and demanded access to her mobile phones while speeding out of the city. After a long time on the road, her captors stopped the car and appeared to be holding discussions with a superior. Now, Chehai, who has been critical of Tanzanian President Samia Suluhu Hassan, went into exile in Kenya 4 years ago after learning she would be arrested. She blames the government for her abduction in Nairobi.
I am sure that the abduction, part of the abduction was to get access to my devices and to get access to the activities that I do online, which include, of course, sometimes doing whistleblowing, but also doing a lot around abductions in Tanzania. So that is the first thing that I really felt that they really wanted.
Sarungi says that her disappearance was immediately reported to rights groups who raised the alarm. She believes the rapid furor in the media and online is what forced her captors to release her. She added that the abduction attempt will not make her give up.
I will not stop, I'll not relent, and I will not decrease anything. And in fact, it has given me so much things to be grateful for. As you rightfully said, this could have gone so wrong. There was a point in time when I was convinced that I was about to be taken across, and I knew the minute I crossed, you would never hear from me again. I'll become another poster. So I will never stop, never, ever stop. And if this was done, whether to intimidate me, to really harm me, that will never stop me.
Tsehai's brief detention comes as the governments of both Tanzania and Kenya stand accused of abducting critics. In the past year, the Tanzanian government has been blamed for several abductions of critics. The most high-profile case involved a senior opposition leader who was allegedly abducted, tortured and brutally murdered. Last year, dozens of opposition members were also arrested and some were killed. While Tanzania's president has publicly denounced the killings and abductions and has also launched a probe, there have been concerns that the country under her is returning to a repressive rule against what she had promised. The incident also highlights Kenya's growing reputation for allowing foreign governments to kidnap their citizens. This is not an isolated case. In July, a group of 36 Ugandan opposition members were abducted in Kenya and forcibly returned for a terrorist trial. The same happened to former Ugandan presidential candidate in November, and he now faces a widely condemned military trial. Then in October, 4 Turkish refugees were abducted in Nairobi and forcibly returned. The country has also seen a wave of abductions targeting its own citizens, focused on critics of President William Ruto in the wake of the massive youth-led protests. Authorities in Kenya and Tanzania have not commented on the activist's abduction. However, the latest abduction incident of Maria Surungi Tsehai certainly adds more pressure on governments of both countries facing dissent. Our last story for the day is from Mali. The West African country's military junta has tightened their grip on foreign companies that are mining gold. Their latest target, Canada's Barrick Gold. Malian authorities have seized tons of gold from a mining site operated by Barrick Gold as the junta-ruled nation looks to get a fairer distribution of revenue from its mining sector. This has left the Canadian firm scrambling to protect its operations in the country. We bring you more details in our next report.
In the world's third largest gold producer, Africa, the precious metal is seen as a symbol of wealth, power and majesty. It is also seen as a means of exchange should a country's currency collapse. Many countries in the continent, such as Mali, Ghana and DR Congo among others, have seen companies from the West set up their mining operations to get hold of this difficult-to-extract metal whose prices have increased in recent months. But a growing anti-West sentiment, especially in the West African country of Mali, has made it difficult for foreign mining companies to operate. Ever since the military came to power in Mali, it has been demanding a greater share of revenues from the Western mining companies by negotiating new contracts. This is to bolster its government revenues as prices of the precious metal rally to record highs, and its latest target is a Canadian company called Barrick Gold. Authorities in Mali, Africa's second largest gold producer, have started enforcing a provisional order to seize gold stock at a mine operated by Barrick Gold. Around 3 metric tons of gold has been flown out by the Malian authorities from the company's Loulo-Gounkoto mining complex in western Mali over the weekend, which reports suggest is valued at $245 million. Loulo-Gounkoto accounts for around 14% of Barrick's 2025 estimated gold output. This prompted the company to suspend mining operations in Mali's Loulo and Gounkoto mines on Monday. In its letter to the Malian government, Barrick said the seizure of the gold meant it was no longer covered by Barrick's insurance. The company added that it was awaiting official confirmation of the proper receipt by Malian Solidarity Bank, a government entity. The seizure of Barrick's gold followed a warning letter to the Canadian company earlier this month from a judge in Mali that said 3 tons of gold would be seized. Mali's economy ministry also claimed that 2 mines operated by Barrick in the country owed a total of $5.5 billion to the government, a much higher figure than previously estimated. To be sure, the company owns 80% of the mining complex in Loulo-Gounkoto, with Mali government owning only 20%. However, this is not the first time that the Canadian company has come under fire from the military-led authorities in Mali. Barrick Gold and Mali have been at odds with each other since 2023 over a contract based on new mining rules. The row has escalated several times, with Mali detaining 4 senior executives in November and issuing an arrest warrant for Barrick Gold CEO Mark Bristow in December for charges of money laundering. Reports suggest that Mali, which has struggled for years with jihadi violence and high levels of poverty and hunger, had previously demanded about $500 million in unpaid taxes from Barrick. But the company denied any wrongdoing and said it had paid Mali $85 million in October. Mali has similarly been pressuring other foreign companies too. In November 2024, Australia's Resolute Mining also came under fire after its CEO and 2 executives were detained in capital Bamako. The mining company had to pay $160 million to the government to help resolve the tax dispute. However, this bulldozing on companies has not been limited to Mali. Mali's neighbours Niger and Burkina Faso have also increased pressure on Western companies. Burkina Faso said in October 2024 that the country had planned to withdraw mining permits from some foreign companies and would seek to produce more of its own gold. In Niger, authorities took control of the French nuclear fuels company Orano-Somer uranium mine in December. So as West Africa tightens its grip on mining operations, Western companies are scrambling to protect their operations in the junta-ruled countries.
And that's it on the show for today. We will see you again tomorrow at the same time. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.